with how do we think about ourselves, how do we feel about ourselves, and how do we judge ourselves. And this is what Nathaniel Branden said. He said, of all the judgments we pass in life, none is as important as the one we pass on ourselves. So really important. The judgment we pass on ourselves is the most important judgment we have in life. And there are two components to self-esteem: self-efficacy and self-respect. What is self-efficacy? Self-efficacy is this trust in yourself that you can handle life, that you and I can make it happen, that you will persist in face of challenges and not give up, and that you can go after your biggest dreams and ambitions and goals and desires. And the other component is self-respect. The self-respect component is the fact that you believe you're worthy of happiness, of love, of kindness, of fruits of your own effort, and you believe you're valuable in this world, and you believe you have a right to be successful, you have a right to be, and you are deserving of your goals and dreams and ambitions and everything else that life presents you. So the two components of self-esteem, again, self-efficacy and self-respect. Now, here's something that most people never get: the fact that self-esteem is inside of us. What that means is that you don't get it from outside things like material possessions, or marrying someone, or dating someone, or philanthropy and giving something to some people. That's not the way it works. It comes from your own feelings and how you think about and feel about yourself, not how someone else thinks and feels about you. And you will never get it from others. That's just not self-esteem. So we should stop looking for approval from outside. And this is what Nathaniel Branden said. He said, my aim is to prove I'm enough. The process of infinity, because the battle was lost on the day I conceded the issue was debatable. Most people are trying to prove that they are enough. But as soon as we try to prove that we're enough, we've already lost the battle, because as soon as we say that we're trying to prove we're enough, we already know that we're not enough. So really important to understand that we can't be looking for the approval outside. It's something that we'll do it all our lives, because we can never win over everyone. Now, let's try to understand how we can build action. Taking action is the cornerstone of building self-esteem. Now, self-esteem is it's not something that you just have one day. It's something that you work on. It's a function of what you do. It's a function of what the individual does. So, and it's something that you can practice and work on and build over time. So, and don't try to do everything in one go. It's small, step-by-step practice, incremental practice over and over time. So Nathaniel Branden talks about the 6 pillars of self-esteem. And the first pillar of self-esteem is the practice of living consciously. So let's dig into what does it mean to live consciously. The idea of living consciously, really, it boils down to becoming aware. We need to become aware. We need to become conscious of everything that is happening in our life. We need to wake up. So, for example, the practice of living consciously entails being able to distinguish facts and interpretations and emotions. For example, if someone says something to you and you get really angry, well, if you're not conscious, you would probably just say, "Oh, I'm angry." But if you're conscious, you would understand that your feeling is not the truth, and what they said is your perception, and then how you interpreted this was another thing, and then something happened which allowed you to feel. So there's a big distance between what they said and how you feel. However, you connected everything and you just became angry. So living consciously means being able to create that distinction in ourselves, to distance ourselves from the different aspects of ourselves, and to be able to see them separately. And another example of living consciously is to become aware of our values and the roots and how they came into being, how we change those values. For example, my most fundamental values are learning and growing and becoming a better person every day, and also doing something great in this world. So these are values I live by every day. Ambition, another really important value for me. So that's some of the examples of living consciously, of understanding that living consciously is a key to self-esteem. Now, another example of living consciously is just aligning our actions with our purpose, and just knowing whether our actions are in alignment with our purpose, and then taking action accordingly. Really important key to living consciously. now let's talk real, like how do we live consciously? How do we live more consciously? And this is a beautiful exercise. It's called sentence completion. And what it does, the sentence completion exercise, what it does is it actually taps into our untapped resources. It's a really simple exercise, but it taps into the fact that we have more knowledge than we're aware of. We have more wisdom than we normally use. We have more potential than we typically use. And this exercise will tap into these resources. So how do we do it? Well, there are sentence stems, and what you want to do is write a minimum of 6 endings to each of these sentence stems. So once you when I complete it, it should make a full sentence. And what you want to do is work as rapidly as possible and not think too much, not overthink it. And don't worry if an ending seems to be too the realm of truth or possible or not possible, and if it's not real, if you don't feel it's real or if it's even possible. Now here's the exercise. It's something that it has helped me tremendously, and I think it's one of the most powerful exercises you can do on building self-esteem. So in the beginning of the day, every day, here's what you want to do. You want to write down. Now you can pause this video and bring your paper and pencil, because this is going to be something that you want to do on a daily basis. Here's the first one. If I bring 5% more awareness to my activities today, if I bring 5% more awareness to my activities today, and now complete this sentence in 6 different ways. Make a full sentence in 6 different ways. Write as fast as you can, complete these sentences. The second question, if I bring 5% more, the second sentence stem, if I bring 5% more awareness to my priorities, and then again, complete this 6 different completions. Do this, pause the video, do it. Once you've done that, another sentence stem you can do is, if I bring 5% of awareness, 5% more awareness to my fear of whatever you have, whatever you might be fearing. Or you can do, if I bring 5% more awareness to whatever challenge you're having right now, and then do a sentence completion for that. The possibilities are endless. You can do it for every different thing that you want to work on or improve on, or that you want to become more consciously aware of and handle in your life. Now, once you do that, you're done for the morning. In the evening, at the end of the day, what you want to do is come back and write, do this exercise in a different way. What you want to do is, here's the sentence stem you want to complete. When I reflect what happens when I bring 5% more awareness to my activities. So we started off in the morning, we had this question, if I bring 5% more awareness to my activities today, and you completed those sentence stems. And in the evening, you reflect back and you say, when I reflect what happens when I bring 5% more awareness to my activities, and then again, write those sentence stems. And then you can do the same for all these different sentence stems as well that you did in the morning. Do the reflection on them in the evening. Do this for every day, Monday through Friday. Don't read your answers from prior days. And on the weekend, read your completions and then write 6 endings for this question. If any of what I wrote is true, it would be helpful if I, and then write 6 completions for this sentence stem. Okay, so there we have it. The first pillar of self-esteem, which is the practice of consciously. There are 5 other pillars: the practice of self-acceptance, self-responsibility, self-assertiveness, living purposefully, and personal integrity. The second pillar of self-esteem is the practice of self-acceptance. The practice of self-acceptance. And what that means, there are 3 levels of the practice of self-acceptance. And the first level is to be on your own side, to be on your own side and to stand up for your right to exist in this world, for your right to be who you are, for your right to be on this planet Earth today. Level 2, the second level, is the willingness to experience. And what that means is willingness to experience whatever may be the facts of your being, being things like your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. To experience is not to disown, but to just, to stand in the presence of something, to contemplate the reality of that situation, to contemplate the reality of your thoughts or your feelings or your emotions, and to absorb it into your consciousness. It's not just acknowledging that that's who you are, but to be able to be okay with it, and to be able to actually stand in presence, to contemplate and to absorb it, to be present with it, to experience it fully, whatever may be the facts of your being. And this is it's almost like even if you don't like parts of yourself, you realize that this is an expression of me, even if I don't like it. Because when we fully experience something, we are able to let direct healing power. Letting go has humongous power, but only when we are fully experiencing it. Only after we have been able to fully experience something are we able to let it go. And in that process of letting go, there is tremendous healing power. So realize that. Now, self acceptance. A lot of times people get confused and think that if I take up the practice of self acceptance, then I will not be able to improve myself. Then I will not want to improve myself. But that's not the case. It's actually a precondition for growth, because if you do not accept your mistake, if you do not accept that you have a fear, how will you be able to overcome it? How will you be able to learn from a mistake if you don't even accept that you made a mistake in the first place? So, acceptance doesn't mean that you like it or you enjoy it. It means being present with it, being aware of it, being able to absorb it, and at the same time be able to deal with it. The third level of self acceptance is self compassion. And what that means is self compassion is being a friend towards ourselves and treating ourselves with love and kindness. This is really powerful. We did a whole episode, a podcast episode, which you can check out. Here's you can check out the link, and I'll put the link to the podcast episode in the course section. But it is about self-compassion. I interviewed the author of Self-Compassion, Kristen Neff, and we talked about it in detail. So if you want to get into self-compassion, go check out that podcast episode. So another key to the practice of self-acceptance is to experience and let go of our emotions. And that's really, really, really powerful. It's not easy to let go of our emotions if we don't experience them fully. And the steps to take are to first focus on the feeling that is on the emotion that is inside of us, and then feel it in your body. Feel it and allow, breathe into it and let your body relax. Feel where the emotion is, feel where the feeling is, allow the feeling to be felt, and let it be. And then own that feeling. That's the third step, to own that feeling. Know that this is what I'm feeling, and I'm feeling, and I accept it. It's possible that you might want to resist that emotion. You don't like that emotion, in which case you accept the resistance that you have towards it. So accepting that emotion will allow it to go through you. But when you're fighting it, when you are trying to fight something, it grows stronger. But as soon as we accept it, when we acknowledge it, we experience it, that block melts away, that emotion melts away, and it is out of our system. Okay, so there again, we talked about this a little bit, but I want to again touch on this because these are really important fallacies that most people fall into. First of which is that we must approve of everything about us. That's not what self-acceptance is about. Self-acceptance is the realization that this is who I am, even if I don't approve of everything. This is who I am. And the second fallacy is if we accept ourselves, we'll stop wanting to change. If we'll stop wanting to improve, that's not the case. In fact, if we do not accept ourselves, we cannot change, we cannot improve, because we don't even know where we stand. Because denial will leave us stuck, but acceptance of our flaws, acceptance of our challenges, acceptance of our failures will allow us to move forward, because then we know what we need to work on. Okay, so the exercise. Again, this is a sentence completion exercise. Every stem that you get here, you want to write 6 responses to it, and you can pick and choose your stems. This is something that you can do on an ongoing basis, probably an exercise of a lifetime in many ways, because I go back to these exercises all the time. So, if I am more accepting of my challenges, write down 6 full sentences that start with, if I am more accepting of my challenges. Another option is to write about, if I am more accepting of my actions. Another one is, if I am more accepting of my fears. Another one, joys. Another one, if I'm more accepting of my feelings. Now, this is a powerful one. This is a difficult one. If I'm more accepting of my emotions and my feelings, because those are the things that we want to most. Those are the things we want to run away from the most. And another one really powerful is if I am more accepting of my inadequacies. That is so powerful. We don't want to accept them, but in accepting them, it's great power. Another sentence completion stem is when I deny and disown my, and you can fill in either of these in the fill sentence stems. Really important to write these six stems: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So really important to write all those 6 answers. When I deny and disown my joy, my challenges, my positives, my negatives, really powerful. When I deny and disown my emotions, what happens? When I deny and disown my inadequacies, and then write 6 answers, 6 full sentences from this sentence stem. Really powerful exercise. Another one is if I bring a high level of consciousness to my challenges, to my fears, to my actions, to my choice, and then again 6 sentence completions for each of these stems. Okay, so there we have it, self-acceptance. Okay, the third pillar of self-esteem is the practice of self-responsibility. The practice of self-responsibility. And that one is a hard one to get, because what this means is that I am responsible for the achievement of my desires, for my choices, my actions, for the level of consciousness I live with in my life, and how I prioritize my time, my personal happiness, choosing the values I live by. This is so powerful. If you allow yourself to be responsible for all these things, you become you grow in self-esteem tremendously. This is not a passive way to look at life. This is an active orientation towards life. And what you will find is most of the people you would quantify as successful in some ways have taken responsibility for that area of life. For whatever you think they are successful in, they are taking responsibility for that area of life. And these successful people, if there is a problem in that area, if there is a problem, they're not absorbed with blame or excuses. What they're saying is they're looking for solutions, they're looking for actions, they're looking for ways to beat that particular situation and to win in that process. So here's the exercise you wanted to do to incorporate this practice of self-responsibility. And here are the sentence stems you want to complete. If I take more responsibility for of my relationships, the attainment of my goals. Again, each of these sentence stems, you need to write 6 sentence completions. If I take 5% more responsibility for my personal happiness, for the choice of people in my life, the things I tell myself, what I make of my life, my personal finances, my entrepreneurial endeavor, of if I take 5% more responsibility for making myself feel anxious, making myself feel scared, making myself feel depressed, making myself feel any negative feeling that you're currently struggling with. Another sentence completion is if no one is coming to rescue me. This is such an important concept. If no one is coming to rescue me. Another sentence completion is when I avoid responsibility for my relationships. Again, 6 sentence completions. When I avoid responsibility for my happiness, for my challenges, for my current state of affairs. Write down 6 sentence completions for each of them. And there's unfortunately in the society today, we have this notion that somehow there will be help from outside. Somehow there is the government is responsible for our well-being or something like that, or there is a miracle that will happen if only you suffer long enough, or if you yearn desperately enough. But this is the kind of self-deception that will literally uh, demolish you, because when we are giving responsibility of our life to something else, to an external circumstance, to an external condition, or even to our government or to an external family member, we are giving up our life. We are deceiving ourselves. So, really important thing to think about when we think about self responsibility, the fact that don't wait for a miracle to happen. Don't wait for something to come and save you. If it's going to be, it's up to you. If it's going to be, it's up to me. That's the motto you want to live by when it comes to the practice of self responsibility. Okay, so let's talk about the fourth pillar of self esteem, which is the practice of self assertiveness. Self assertiveness. Now, what does it mean to be self assertive? It is indeed honoring your own wants, needs, values. It's really important to understand that you have to not only honor them, you have to seek appropriate forms of expression of your wants, of your desires, of your dreams, of your values. And it's not enough to just have those values, as we just said. We must pursue them and stand by them, and we need to act according to them. That is the key. That is when we become self assertive, not just by talking about them, but acting in accordance with them, and the willingness to stand up for yourself. This is so important in the field of entrepreneurship. To be who you are openly, to treat yourself with respect is critical to the idea of self assertiveness. And we have to be able to think for ourselves, to stand by what one thinks, to challenge authority. And this is one of the most common traits among the great entrepreneurs. They stand by what they think, and they're able to challenge authority and think for themselves. Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg or any of the great entrepreneurs, or even Paul Getty, whose biography we have in one of our videos. You challenge authority and you say, this is the way I think it should be, and you go make it happen. That is self assertiveness. And we have to confront those that come in our way when we stand for ourselves, when we establish our wants and needs. And that is when we get to strive for mastery. And we have to leap into the challenge and get our hands dirty in the middle of the challenge as we go after our wants and needs and desires, rather than not stand up for them. So the key to self-assertiveness is to have an idea and to see it through completion, see it to reality. And that is, in some ways, that is the essence, that is the most fundamental truth of entrepreneurship. We start with a vision, we start with an idea, and then we develop it. We have to fight for it, we have to work hard for it. It is ultimately the most fundamental um, skill in some ways, or practice in entrepreneurship, to develop your idea, to fight for it, to work for it, to make it happen, to bring it to life. So here's the exercise to this fourth pillar of this practice of self-assertiveness. Here's the sentence term. If I brought 5% more awareness to my wants and needs, if I brought 5% more awareness to my values and how I live by them. Another sentence term that you want to complete is when I hide who I am. Another sentence stem you want to complete is if I am willing to ask for what I truly want, if I am willing to voice my true thoughts and opinions, if I am willing to let people hear what's inside of me, if I'm willing to be myself rather than a version of myself that I think people would accept. This is a really important one, because this is something we all are victim to in some way, shape, or form. We all try to mold ourselves to the way the society wants us to be. So, really important pillar, the practice of self-assertiveness. So now let's talk about the fifth pillar of self-esteem, which is the practice of living purposefully. Now here's the key. The practice of living purposefully starts out, we have to first understand that achievements don't prove our self-worth. The process of those things, the process of achieving, the process of working hard towards something, that allows us to develop our self-efficacy. And the power lies in the cause, in why we were able to develop, why we, in the process that we use, in the cause of what produces the wealth. The power does not lie in the effect, not in the wealth itself. That's why, and you would often see that the children of wealthy people or the children of wealthy entrepreneurs aren't necessarily themselves very powerful or have very high self-esteem, because they are just that effect. They're not the cause of what happened when that entrepreneur or when that successful person became successful, when their parent became successful. So The power is in the cause, in the process, not in the effect, not in the end results, not in the wealth itself. It's in what produces the wealth. Really important distinction. And the practice of living purposefully means living and acting by intention. By intention. So it means that we identify our goals, we identify the actions needed to get there, we monitor ourselves and our progress, we monitor the outcomes, and we're constantly aligning and realigning to get to our goals and to be driven. It's like you have a goal, you're going after it, you're constantly trying to figure out where you're going, if you're on track or not, changing course. So, and really important idea to understand here is that we're not trying to prove ourselves to others when we're going after our dream, our vision, our ambition. We're doing it because we want to express ourselves. We're doing it because this is our truth. Again, the idea of self-esteem and how it ties to accomplishment, because it's a very dangerous idea. Let's talk a little bit more about it, because it's not self-esteem tied to accomplishments is not self-esteem at all. It is dependent on external realities. If that is the way it is, your self-esteem will be tied to external realities, and you can never have self-esteem that comes from within. Your self-esteem will change every day. Your net worth changes, and that is not a good valuation of your self-esteem. So here are the exercises for living purposefully. If I am 5% more purposeful at work, if I am 5% more purposeful in my relationships, if I am 5% more purposeful in my life, if I am 5% more purposeful in fulfilling my wants, if I am 5% more purposeful in living by my values. So all of this is really powerful in the practice of living purposefully. Okay, so now let's talk about the sixth pillar, the final pillar, or actually the sixth pillar of self-esteem, which is the practice of personal integrity. What is the practice of personal integrity? When our behavior, when our actions are aligned with our values, with the values we profess, with our ideals, the ideals we talk about, the principles, the standards, it's basically saying that we need to walk the talk. We need to walk the talk. We need to do what we say our ideals are, our principles are, our standards are, our values are. That's where congruence comes in, because our words and behaviors match themselves. Here's the amazing thing about the world that we live in today. We deceive ourselves because we think only I will know whether I am in integrity with my own values, with my own mission, with my own ideals, principles, standards. But it's one of the greatest self-deceptions, because self-esteem is ultimately our own judgment on ourselves. So if our judgment of ourselves is the only one that matters, is it a good idea to deceive ourselves by not aligning our values, ideals, principles, and standards with our behaviors because nobody's watching? Because if we allow ourselves to deceive ourselves like that, we can never truly have self-esteem and never truly make progress in our lives. So let's talk about the exercise. The exercise for the practice of personal integrity. If I bring 5% more integrity to my values and my actions, if I bring 5% more integrity to my ideals and my actions, if I bring 5% more integrity to my relationships, if I bring 5% more integrity to my commitments, if I remain loyal to my most fundamental values. Now, this is a really tough one, and it's a work of a lifetime in many ways. It's something I'll commit to doing and consistently doing throughout our life. Okay, so there's the pillar of self-esteem, the practice. Now, the title of the book is The Six Pillars of Self-Esteem, but there is another pillar, the seventh pillar of self-esteem. The seventh pillar of self-esteem it's very succinctly put, loving our own life enough that we will have the courage, the perseverance, the willingness to live by these six pillars. Because living by these six pillars is going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. It's not going to be easy. But if we are ourselves enough, if we truly, then we will go out or live by these values, to practice pillars, these pillars of self-esteem. So really important. To love ourselves enough, know life matters enough, that we will have the perseverance, the courage, the willingness to go live by these 6 pillars. And in some ways, these all feed into each other. The more we practice these 6 pillars of self-esteem, the more we develop our 7th pillar of self-esteem. And the more we practice any of these pillars, the more we will have, we'll automatically start living by other pillars as well. So really profound book on the practice of self-esteem. If interested, you should definitely get this book if you want to develop your